Hi, my name's Penny, and today I'm going to talk about the books that I'm hoping to read in February. There are quite a few here. I had them stacked up just before with my January books that I read stacked up next to my February TBR, and I have to tell you this was a much taller stack. So I'm not sure if I'm being overly optimistic, but I don't know, let's talk about the books. So I'm going to start by talking about the library books because those are the ones I really have to read because I will need to return them. The first one is this massive book. A lot of these books are massive. But this one, Kingdom of Ash, is due back on the 11th, so I need to get to it. This is how many pages? 984 pages. Ow. So Kingdom of Ash is the 7th and final book in the Throne of Glass series, very popular series. I have liked some of the books more than other books. I hated Tower of Dawn, but you know, it's a series. I've been reading it for a long time, so I want to know what happens. We basically follow this lady called Celaena, sometimes known as Aelin. She's like this badass bitch who goes around fighting people. There's fae and different kinds of magic and demons and witches. I do really like Manon the Witch. I just realized maybe I should have tried to find this on audiobook. That would have been easier. Never mind. I've got this. I'm going to read it. Hopefully some cool stuff will happen with Manon and her dragons. Hopefully Aelin won't be too annoying. Hopefully I can read this without it taking too long. So then the next book I have from the library is Slayer by Kirsten White. So this is a book set in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer world. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was one of my favorite series last year. I read most of the comic series that follows on from the TV series. This is set in the same world. I'm not sure of the exact timing of where it sits, but I believe it follows a girl who is part of the Watcher Academy, which the Watchers are the people who look after the Slayers, and then she gets chosen to be a Slayer. Slayers, of course, being the chosen ones who are vampire slayers. So I'm really excited because, of course, I love this world. Hopefully the story will be enjoyable. I've never really read anything by Kirsten White before. Hopefully there won't be too much romance. Fingers crossed it'll be awesome. So then I also just will briefly touch on, I have a couple of non-fiction books out from the library. One is the Scrum Pocket Guide, a travel companion that's actually tiny but tiny writing. Scrum is something I do for work when I work, which I don't at the moment, but I did want to just give this a read to see if it might be something useful to point other people to learn about Scrum. Then I also picked up The Anatomy of Story by John Truby. This is a book about writing that Katie Tastic recommended the other day in one of her writing vlogs. One of the things I want to do during my time off that I'm having at the moment is try to get back into one of those. Writing and try and get some of my stories in my head onto paper. So since Kat recommended this, I thought I would have a look at it. So that's all the library books. It's not too many, so we should be alright. One thing that I want to do, I haven't done a goal video for this year, and to be honest, it's February, so I'm probably not going to. But one of the goals I do have for this year is to get through my physical TBR. So I counted and I have 108. I've made a Goodreads list of them. I counted, I have 108 books. I would really like that to be more like 20 or 30, really. I just think 108 is ridiculous. I should not have books just sitting around that I haven't read. So what I plan to do is basically read or get rid of 8 books every month. So I either have to read 8 books or I'm going to have to, at the end of the month, get rid of some. I was going to do this in January, but I decided to let it slide for January. But for February, we're going to do it. So I haven't exactly picked all the books that I want to read because there's too many and I don't know what I feel like. But I did pick some. So I decided that what I would do is every month I will pick off books in particular ways. So one of the things I'm going to start doing is I'm going to read the lowest rated book on the list and the highest rated list on the book. So I thought it would be interesting to like compare and contrast like a really unpopular, probably terrible book with a really well-liked book. Although, to be honest, there's not too many low-rated books on my list. However, there is one that's really low, and that is The Almost Moon by Alice Sebold. This is the author of The Lovely Bones, which I actually didn't like that much either. I enjoyed the movie much more. But my sister actually had this book, and so she gave it to me, lent it to me. I don't know, Danielle, if you want this back once I've read it, you can have it back. I watched something a while ago by Sarah with an H. She made a video about reading the 5 lowest rated books on Goodreads, and this was one of them. So I imagine it's going to be quite terrible. I don't actually even know what it's about. Synopsis on the back pretty much tells you nothing. So I guess I'll read that. It's pretty short, so it should be okay. The highest rated book on my list is not short, but it's highest rated, so it should be good, right? And that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I really need to take that price tag off. Anyway, I've had this for a while because it was on special, although not that special. And the sequel, second book, last book in the duology is also out now, so I should really get to this and find out what everyone's going on about. This follows a guy called Laszlo Strange, who is a scholar about this mythic lost city of Weep, and then he gets to go there. I don't really know much about it. I think it's quite slow and character-based from what everyone said, but it would be good to get through this and read this. Then the other way that I thought I would select books off my physical TBR is to pick the shortest book and the longest book. Even though I was actually tempted just to read all the really short ones. But I know that will make me hate myself in the future, so we're not going to do that. We're going to read the shortest one, the longest one. The shortest one is If Wishes Were Horses by Anne McCaffrey. This is another one that my sister gave me, so again, Danielle, if you want this back after, let me know. I'm going to read it this month. It's short. It's really short, so it should be a really quick read. Again, I know nothing about it. I imagine something about horses. Anne McCaffrey is the writer of the Dragons of Pern series that I really enjoyed. Whether this will be anything like that, I don't know. I don't particularly like the Dragons of Pern series anymore, so who knows, but I'm going to read that. And then the longest book on my physical TBR. This is awful. There's a lot of really, really long books on this TBR, so that's kind of terrifying, but I'm going to read Tales from the Arabian Nights. Translated by Sir Richard Francis Burton. So I think this is a story where some woman has to tell a different story every night to stop some guy from killing her. Yeah, I don't really know. It's a classic, essentially, though, so I should read it. My mum gave me this one quite a while ago. It's kind of pretty, so I hope I love it. Then I also decided that I would read the most recent book to get on my TBR list, and that is the book I got for Christmas, which is Jim Henson's Return to the Labyrinth. This is number 1 in a series. It's essentially like a little manga. Is it a manga? Does it start at the back? No. But it's, you know, graphic novel, manga-ish style. I don't really know if what it follows. I think it follows Toby, the child, and his story, maybe getting to know Gareth. I love the Labyrinth movie. If you haven't seen the Labyrinth movie, because maybe you're too young, some of you, you should watch the Labyrinth. It's an amazing movie. Maybe a little bit funny to watch now, given how technology has changed, since a lot of the characters in it are puppets, but it's an amazing movie, and I love it. And it's got David Bowie in it, so you should have watched it. You should have. I also have From a High Tower by Mercedes Lackey. So this is the something book in the series. I don't know what book, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th. 10th book in the series, I think. And this series is actually going to continue after this. This is like a world set kind of in like historical Europe, London, where different people have these elemental powers, and each story is like a retelling of a different fairy tale. This one, I don't know what fairy tale we're retelling. Let's read it. Oh, this looks like it's Rapunzel, so that's good. Now, this series actually continues after this one, but after this it starts being retellings of Sherlock Holmes stories, so I'm going to stop at that point because I'm not interested. I haven't read a lot of Sherlock Holmes. These stories are a little bit, sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're not. Probably not good enough to continue this series on and on. So I'm going to treat this as the last book in the series, and once I've done with this, I'm going to tick that series off my list of series. Rapunzel, that's cool. Now I realize she's got like these long plaits. That's pretty cool. She's got a gun. Rapunzel with a gun. She's probably got elemental powers. Should be cool. Maybe. So that is all the physical books that I have on my list. It's a pretty big pile, but I also have some audiobooks. Let me just bring up my list. Oh, so I have started reading Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Although what I've noticed is that this is the first book in a series. I don't really know what it's about. So far, being like an hour and 40 minutes in, we have this young boy who was the bastard son of the future king, and he has some kind of like ability to read people's thoughts and he's mind melded with this dog. He's still 6. It's been going on for an hour and 40 minutes. It's quite slow, but I feel like it might build up to something quite cool. I did notice, however, though, that even though there was no wait for this first book, the second book I have a hold on, and currently it is saying about 26 weeks I might get to read it. So we'll see what I think of the first book and whether I'm willing to wait 26 weeks or not. But I also have some other holds that are saying they'll come through in February. So the first one is Dance of Thieves. I'll put up a proper picture. Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. So this is a companion series to the Remnant Chronicles, which I read last year. And the Remnant Chronicles, it's it's a romance, but it's still quite a cool romance because you have this girl who is betrothed to be married. Instead, she decides to run away without even meeting this guy. And then after she has her betrothed prince guy chasing after her, and also an assassin chasing after her, and it's told in such a way that you don't know which of these two guys is which, even though you are seeing some of the story from their perspective. It's really cool, but there's also quite a cool bigger world to it, and this is going to continue on, be told in the same world. That's all I know about the story, but since it was available soon, I thought, yes, I'm going to read that. I do also have, apparently in about 2 weeks, Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. I don't really know what that's about, but I'd like to design my life to be better. I assume that's what it's going to help me with. I had pretty colours on the cover. So I also have Life of Pi by Yann Martel, which is one that is here on my, oh, that's dangerous, here on my physical TBR. So if I listen to the audiobook, then I can count that as read, even though that's kind of cheating. But like, there are so many books on this TBR that cheating is okay at this point. I don't think any of these other ones are going to come through in the next month, but if they do, that would be cool. So obviously from my physical TBR, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books that I would get to cross off, which would mean I would need to unhaul 2, but we'll see how we go. Hopefully I'll find time to read a couple of other ones depending on my mood. That is definitely enough books. Do let me know if you've read any of those books. By the time it's the end of the month, I would love to talk to you about them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.